Just need to work out how to add Katie in. Aha. This should go through. Is it gonna work?
Hey, how's it going?
Yay! How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, everything's good.
Oh, I love
my
your
pom-poms
earrings.
on today.
Oh my god, we've got all the earring fabulousness out today.
Exactly. I thought, oh, I better wear the pom-poms today.
I know, they look so good. Are they handmade?
Yeah, of course. So this is with like hand-dyed yarn. So when you make pom-poms, you can make really cool speckled ones if you just use like the hand-dyed yarn. It's like the easy way to make a speckled pom-pom. But yeah, so
I love them. I mean, I've got so many questions to ask you about all things craft and everything. I know we first met really briefly at the Handmaid Festival.
Yeah.
It was in 2019 now.
A whole ages ago now.
I
but
know.
Yeah.
And what first caught my eye was your fabulous like bunting and banners with lots of like lettering and pom-poms everywhere. And I just wanted to get in there, but I couldn't quite get to your stand at the time. It was so busy. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, how did you start up the Sewcial Circle? Like, where did you start from and build it up, really?
So I moved, so I'm Canadian, and I moved to England 10 years ago now. And when I moved, I was working as like a freelance writer, and it was so boring working from home. And I thought, I've got to get just like some part-time job. So I found a job teaching like kids art and craft classes. And then I thought, well, let's do some sewing classes. So I started up a little sewing club there, and then they ended up closing. And then I had this whole like little community of young crafters. And I was like, well, let's just try to do it on my own. So I started with like kids sewing and craft birthday parties and teaching like workshops and private lessons. And then the party sort of kicked off, and then I discovered these Loom Tools on Instagram, actually. And I thought these are so cool. So with these tools, you can make pom-poms and tassels and cords and all sorts of things. I thought my girls are going to love these in my classes. So I started to bring them over from the US. And at the time, no one else was selling them in the UK. So I ended up being sort of like the point person for the UK for these little bamboo tools. So then I started to develop like kits with them in workshops and classes, that sort of thing. But that kind of pushed me into like the product side of developing kits and products. And then when I had my own kids, it was a really good to have that mix of like, I could do the post run with the kids and teach on the weekends and just sort of fitting it around that. And then this year, things just kind of exploded even more with everyone taking up crafting and trying to find new like creative hobbies at home. And with the kids at home as well, it's been really good teaching workshops again, even though it's online. It's a bit different than teaching in person, but that's kind of like the gist of it. But it's grown like quite organically in the last 8 years or so.
Wow, so you started 8 years ago. This is where it was kind of born, the Sewcial Circle.
Yeah, one of those like rainy afternoons where you're sitting with a friend, you're like, oh, what should I do? What about like a kids sewing party business? Oh yeah, that sounds fun. And then it just sort of went from there.
And what was the first party you did? Was there a certain like craft that you were teaching?
Yeah, it's still the most popular project that I do. So it's these little mice and matchbox beds. So that was like the first project. And it's still like, I haven't run in-person parties for a year now, but it's still like the most popular thing that was ever picked through the whole years. So I've turned this project into like a little online kids sewing course. So you can order it on my website. You get a little course and kit, and then the kids can make their little mice and matchbox beds at home. So that was one thing I kind of shifted during this last lockdown, was like, I have all these workshops that I've taught for years and years, and I thought the kids really need something now to kind of take their mind off things, get busy doing something else. So they've been really popular. But yeah, the mouse is always like the signature craft.
It's like childhood memories. Like, that makes me want to like make one, because I remember just having like little dolls in matchboxes and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really nice that you can make one a bit more unique as well.
Yeah, so you can
Really
customize it. Yeah, so it's really sweet. And then we've got also, we're doing little owls at the minute, which is
Yes, I
quite
saw
sweet.
those. I
And
saw
then
that.
they get their little house.
I love that idea.
Yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's really sweet. But it's nice to like still be able to connect with kids in some way, even though we can't do in-person parties or workshops at the minute. It's been really like, the kids are loving it, so that's good.
Yeah, and it means they can join, I suppose, from all around the world to your workshop. So it's even better, like you can teach more
Yeah,
people, which is
yeah,
good.
exactly. So I'm based in Southeast London, and like geographically, now I realize with lockdown and now like online learning, how limiting I was, like limiting myself to only teach kids in Southeast London, or, you know, if I traveled around London. But now it's like limitless, actually, the amount of kids I can inspire or, you know, teach some little projects. And so it's quite cool.
That's really good. So how often do you do your workshops?
So at the minute, I'm doing a couple live ones a month, and then I'm turning them into online courses later. So I record the footage and then I just rework it to work in like an online course format. But yeah, I've got a couple a month coming up. We've got an Easter one at the end of the month, and then I need to take a break for April to like catch up on like new projects and develop new kits and stuff. So I've kind of told myself, okay, I need to like enforce a break, otherwise it just like keeps going and going. But yeah, so there will be a break in April, and then we'll go for like the spring summer term, and then have a break in the summer, and then go in the autumn again. But yeah.
Yeah, it must be like, how do you come up with all your ideas? Like, is it really hard for you to like, do you sort of come up with them, like you say, you have a break and then you write loads of ideas down, I think, which is going to work?
Yeah, I always kind of have a running little brainstorm sheet. But it's like I'm always asking the kids as well, what do you want to make next? What are you really into? And this is like quite insightful because my kids are a little bit younger. So I teach from ages 7 up, and my kids are 3 and 5. So they're not quite at that age yet. But it's always quite interesting to ask the kids in the workshops, like, oh, what are you loving? Oh, one person said, can we make a narwhal next time?
Oh.
I'm like, oh God, can you pick an easier animal, please? That's like, so yeah, I just ask them for ideas, and then it has to work in the format as well. Like we only have an hour and a half, so I need to simplify things so that it's actually achievable for the kids, so they finish the workshop, their project is done, and they're like, wow, I can't believe I made this. So that's always like, there's a few like technical things that has to check a few different boxes. But yeah, so that's really good. The kids know what they want to make. So
Oh, that's so sweet. And then you just put them all, I suppose you get all the materials you need for the workshop sent to you as well for
yeah, so I've got anyways just loads of rolls of felt, and like I call it like my little crafty den. I've got all the yarn and everything here, but it's really, I'm discovering now it's really important as like a business owner to like set aside that creative playtime. Otherwise it can just be like work, work, work. There's always admin stuff to do. But if you don't like set aside that day, or that, I mean, at the minute it's like a couple hours because I'm so time restricted. But yeah, if you don't set aside that time, it never happens. So that's really important, to come up with new ideas. And also the crafting is like when you're doing stuff, you get new ideas for other stuff, but you don't really get those ideas unless you actually make stuff. So
yeah, exactly. I was going to ask, have you got any projects that you work on like in your own time, or is there a certain craft, like are you making lots of pom-poms? Because I'm so into the pom-poms.
Yeah, so it's funny, like I love to do drawing and painting as like a totally separate thing that I don't, because it's like when you turn your hobby into your business or your work, it's easy to just do that. But I'm finding I get even more ideas if I do a craft that's like just for pleasure and not like work related. So I do loads of pom-pom making and stuff, but it tends to be for like product development and stuff like that. But it's nice to do. So these are a few I've got just like color block pom-poms, but it's nice to do something that's totally different, so you can actually like turn off a little bit and reset. So
yeah, that's cool. What kind of inspiration do you get from like your painting and things like that? Do you paint a lot of like sorry, a lot of things in front of you?
Yeah, it depends. Like at the minute, it's been really tough this first few months of the year because my kids have been at home. So I haven't had as much time, but I've done some like painting classes in the past, or you get new like color combination ideas or shapes. Now I'm working on a kit for Pom Pom flowers. It's like a spring craft.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're just on the shelf back there. I'll bring them in a bit, but yeah. So yeah, it's just trying to just switch off and do something else. But yeah, otherwise you can just do the pom poms all the time or just sewing, and you kind of get lost in it a bit. So it's good to like step back and you come back with fresh ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And you sell lots of other different types of craft products, sorry, as well, don't you, on your website? Because I had a little sneak peek and I wanted to add everything.
Yeah, so like I said, like I feel like I'm most known for stocking these Loom tools. So there's a few different ones, and they have quite like a line of kits of like tools. So I'll just show a few of them. So they also do like weaving looms. So this is one of their like rainbow shaped looms, which is quite unique to find. This is my favorite tool for the pom-poms. So you can do 2 different sizes on the top and bottom. And like I said, with these tools, you can do lots of different crafts. So this is how you could make friendship bracelets on the same tool. So you can set it up in different ways to do different types of crafts. So it's one of those things I'm like, if you like any sort of fiber crafts, this tool will come in handy to do something for you. And they have a different shape. So this one is particularly good for weaving. So you can warp it up to make little weaving badges, or you could just have them on your desk. So here's like a little mini weaving.
Oh, I love that. So you could wear it as a little pin badge sort of thing.
So you can have it on your jacket or your dungarees. So they're quite sweet. So there's just so much you can do with them. And I think that's what I was most attracted to, because I'm not one of those like crafty people that are like, I only do this, or embroidery is my thing. I'm just like, I like to make all the things. So, like,
you're like me. I'm exactly the same. When you said like, oh, I like doing this and this, I'm like combining like so many different crafts.
Yeah, I'm just like, I just like to make stuff. So I like to do sewing. Here's their little pom-pom trim guide. So it's a little bamboo disc, but you can also use it to make friendship bracelets.
That's cool.
So I always thought, oh, that's great for kids as well, just to have the option to do lots of different things. And because they're wooden, it's also quite nice like to hold them.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's quite nice they're made from wood. It's something a bit different to sort of like plastic, isn't it?
Yeah, and with like the other types of pom-pom makers with the arms on the hinges, I found it quite difficult to teach kids how to make pom-poms with those, where these, it's quite quick. You just wind the yarn around. So these are also cords you can make on the tools. So those are some little bracelets I've done. And then, yeah, I've just developed kits using those. So I bring in the tools and then I develop different kits. So I've got a friendship bracelet kit as well with all the yarn and instructions to do those. But our most popular one is the pom-pom kit. So in the same kind of line with using bamboo and wooden tools, and we also use merino wool in the kit because it makes like the most gorgeous fluffy pom-poms. So you get your tool, you get your kit, and then you can always keep making after your kit's finished to do all the other crafts. So
wow. And is there I must ask you, is there a tip to getting a fluffy pom-pom at the end? Do you brush it all out, or?
Yeah, so 2 things. So most like the troubleshooting things I come across the most is like either the middle string isn't tight enough, so you have to like get it really tight. So one tip is don't use yarn to tie the middle string. Use like either embroidery floss or crochet cotton, any sort of like strong string to tie in the center, because you can pull it tighter without it snapping. So usually yarn will break easier than like a strong string. So use strong string. And the other thing is that you don't trim it enough. So you have to cut off quite a lot of yarn if you want that like really dense pom-pom. So if you want it to be quite dense and not too shaggy. But it depends what you want to use your pom-pom for. Like for earrings, you want to have like that really defined shape, where if you're doing pom-pom on like a knitted hat or bobble hat, you might want to have like a bigger, shaggier pom-pom. So just depends. But yeah, for like garlands and jewelry making, that sort of thing, I tend to trim them quite a bit. And at the workshops, that's where people are like, oh, I didn't know you have to trim that much off, but you've got to give it like a proper haircut if you want that really like dense pom-pom. So
oh, I've learned something new today already.
So that's where the little like trim guides come in handy. So you would hold your disc against your like messy pom-pom bundle and then just cut around it as like a guide. So that will give you like that size pom-pom. Then you just turn it once and trim again, and then you can just tidy it up by eye. But yeah, those are like the two things that usually like you haven't trimmed enough, or you haven't wrapped enough yarn on your tool, or the middle string isn't tight enough.
Oh, I can't wait to start making that. Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you for that, because I have no idea. I've just sort of I've just been practicing, you know, different things. But I think that tool is really handy, because I can see what you mean when you are pulling away like the plastic ones. It is hard to keep it all together, I think.
Yeah.
It's quite
to get your like while you're tying the knot on is usually when it's like it can explode and you're like
fall apart.
Don't fall apart. Not yet.
That's so really interesting. And so do you have any new products coming up or any new plans for this year?
Yeah, so the thing I'm really focusing on is like the kids sewing courses, so I'm going to keep adding to that, so we've got like a little library by the end of the year. Birthday parties hopefully are back on the table by June. Like, fingers crossed. But in terms of that, I also thought, like, why not start doing parties in a box, so that I can cater to like families outside of London or even in other parts of the world. So I'm working on that. That's like my next like project, to develop the parties in the boxes with like accompanying videos, so the parents can just put on the DVD or like the MP3, MP4, put on the video, whatever it is,
one of those ones.
And then, you know, they can go and like do the project during the party themselves, instead of me having to like go out and travel. So yeah, so that's the next thing. And then I've got a pom-pom flower kit coming out later in the spring, and then a macrame kit as well. So
oh wow,
yeah,
that sounds really good.
Lots going on. Yeah. And then yeah, we'll see in the fall if like fairs and events are back on. So usually the Handmaid Festival is in September, so we'll just have to see. But yeah, it would be great to like meet crafters in person again, because I always
definitely that is something I miss, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a very big thing. I know that like the Handmaid Festival, and I think so. Do you do just usually the Handmaid Festival and do you do the Knitting and Stitching show at all?
No, I haven't done that one before. There's a couple at Farnham Malting, so Unravel, and they've got Thread Festival, so we're just waiting to see, but hopefully they'll be going ahead. Yeah,
hopefully we'll get some news.
Yeah, it's just great to see what else is happening in like the craft world and stuff, and meet other makers and other crafters and see what everyone's working on.
Yeah, definitely. You get so much inspiration, don't you, as well, meeting other people.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased that we can do like a video call though as well, like, so we can interact with everyone and get some new ideas as well. So do you have any tips for any other small businesses at the moment that you could sort of give as any advice for anyone maybe starting up or who's wants to get more into crafting?
Yeah, if you want to turn your business into a craft, or turn your craft into a business, I would say just make sure there's like no one else doing anything. Like, you've got to find your like thing, I guess. Yeah, and it's like everyone will always do something a little bit different, but I found like having that like point of difference just makes it so much easier to market yourself. And then also like knowing your numbers, like 100%. It's like the most boring part of the job. But if you can like find pleasure of some sort in doing spreadsheets and making sure like it's actually like a viable business option, then that would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Highly recommend it.
Definitely. It's a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like the most fun thing to do, but yeah, it's easier to do that kind of legwork at the beginning and rather than later. So yeah.
Definitely. I just wanted to say as well, I forgot to say to everyone who's joined, if you have any questions for Katie, just let us drop them in the box below and we can answer them. But no, it's
but also like business is a journey, so things change. Like I said, like I started doing the parties, now we're not really doing them because of the restrictions. So I thought, oh, how can I take the skills that I know from doing that and transfer them online? Could it work online? And it's been really successful. And then it's like, okay, how can I take that and do something different? So what you start out doing might not be what you do 5-10 years later. But it's always like you just evolve as things go on.
It's amazing how you can adapt, isn't it, to like changing things at the moment and what's going on.
Which is the beauty of small business, because other big brands just had to close in the spring. They had no idea how to like only operate online, where I find with small businesses, you're like, okay, this is happening. What can I do to change this? And maybe it takes like a couple of weeks to figure it out, but then you're like off. And that's it. Whereas I found like bigger brands and bigger businesses had a lot of trouble trying to adapt to new like situations. So it's good. And you can always change, and you get an idea and it's really quick to execute. Like a new kit idea, for example, I'm like, okay, make a few samples, write the instructions, it's all like gets faster the more you do it. And it's great to be able to respond to like trends and things like that. So
yeah, it's amazing how you can come up with, like, I've seen obviously your kits online. I've looked at all like how all your components you put together. There's so much research that goes into it, and making them up. They're so like personal to you, aren't they, as well?
Yeah. Really. And then just trying to figure out I've got this range of craft supplies as well that we stock, and it's like, well, what can I make with the things I already have? So that's where like the felt sewing kits came about. It's like, I've got all this felt, can I make something else using the same materials? And then it keeps your costs down as well from like a business perspective. So just trying to think always outside the box a little bit, how you can like surprise and delight your customers with the next kit and next thing, like next event and stuff. So
yeah, oh, so good. Well, it's been so lovely to have you join us today. Oh, thank you so much for coming on.
It's nice to see you again.
All about your business and everything. And if anyone wants to join your workshops, where do they find them?
Yeah, so I'm at the Sewcialcircle.com. See if I can swing you around to see our little banner there.
I love that.
Those are my pom pom flowers, by the way.
Oh wow.
So that's really cool. On there. So the Sewcialcircle.com, and then there's a section dedicated to learning. So that's where you'll find our online workshops. In terms of adults, I've got a pom pom online course that you could join, so it's a really good accompaniment to the starter kit. So you've got your kit and all your materials, and then I'll show you all the pom-pom tricks in the course. So yeah, that's all at the Sewcialcircle.com, and you can follow me on Insta. That's basically where I hang out all day. So
I mean, who doesn't these days?
Yeah.
Definitely go and check out Sewcial Circle as well on Instagram, and for any workshops and craft bits and bobs over on your website as well.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to answer questions, so I'm in my DMs quite a lot, so if you message me I will reply. If you need any help with your pom-poms or project inspiration, just let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and can't wait to we should do a project together one day. That'd be really cool.
I know, yeah. So when everything's lifted, I haven't been invited to the studio once before, but I will love to like hang out and meet in person when we can craft together and combine our two different like elements.
Yeah, that would be so good. Definitely
Get a little collaboration going. Yeah, cool.
Awesome. We'll speak to you soon, Katie.
Yeah, you too. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.